Shalom, friends. Shabbat Shalom. So nice to see all of you. Cantor Jay and I are delighted to be here. And you may be wondering where Rabbi Sarada is. And Rabbi Sarada is not feeling so well. So we are monitoring the situation. Obviously, he is monitoring the situation. And his family is okay. But he's at home. And we're in constant contact with him. He hasn't been in physical contact with any members of the congregation for at least the last 2 weeks. So no one has to worry if you've been in contact with him before then. But we're monitoring. And if you want to talk, you can email me, text me. I've put my number in previous communications. I don't want to put it out there now because this is public. But obviously, we're all missing him right now and thinking about him and praying for his health. This is what community is for. So let's begin the Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. You know the words, Lecha Dodi. If you don't, just hum along, sing along as we welcome Shabbat into our souls, into our hearts, into our homes.
Hanananayin Lecha Dodi. Hanananayin Likrat Kala. Hanananayin B'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat Mekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Yishmiyanu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shemu tiferet v'litfila. Lecha Dodi. Hanananayin Likrat Kala. Hanananayin B'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat Mekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala. Gam b'simcha u'tzola toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Hanananayin Lecha Dodi. Oh, Hanananayin Likrat Kala. Hanananayin B'nei Shabbat. B'nei Shabbat Mekabela.
Shabbat comes wherever we are on this, the setting of the sun, feeling of spirituality. And as I think about Shabbat, it's, my wife and I were just kind of talking, and it seems like all the days are running together. There's really no difference between the weekends and the weekdays right now, at least for us. I know for others there is. We're so grateful for the people that are working extremely hard, getting up, getting out of their homes. But we are here, and kind of day bleeds into another day. And that's kind of what we want to do on Shabbat, is reimagine sacred time. Take this time, even if it seems the same as the other days of the week. Try to do something to make it sacred. Maybe just watching this video is making it sacred. Maybe lighting candles, doing something to make this day sacred. And one of the things that we do on Shabbat at every service is we say the words of our most sacred prayer, the Shema, tying us together with all of creation, nature, one another. So I invite you now to join as we recite the eternal watchword of our faith.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Leolam
We're getting close to Passover, as many of you probably know. I think we're less than a week away. And Passover is all about freedom, inner freedom and external freedom. And in some ways, the fact that we are not really free right now to leave our homes unless we absolutely have to, we're free to explore what's inside of us, our fears, our hopes, our dreams. And so freedom is not just freedom from, it's also freedom to. We have the freedom to be our best selves every moment. And so let's think about that. Let's picture that. Let's express our gratitude for that as we sing the words of Emi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha boidim Adonai, mi kamocha neda bakodesh, mi chamocha boidim Adonai, mi kamocha neda bakodesh. Nora tehilo no sefele. Ora tehilo se tehele Adonai lo leolam boy.
Sometimes silence is hard, and sometimes silence is a gift to be a time for reflection, for renewal, for looking inside of ourselves. And silent prayer is some people's favorite part of the prayer service. And whether we love it, whether it makes us uncomfortable, whether we could do without it, let's each take a few moments just for listening to our hearts, listening to ourselves, listening to our concerns, our prayers, our hopes, our sense of gratitude. Let's take a few moments for silent prayer. You can take longer if you want by pausing, but let's just take a few moments now, and then we'll come together to sing our prayer for Shalom, for peace.
We pray for abundant peace to fill the world, that sense of wholeness, with these words, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Biatahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך למראה את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Misha Berach prayer is a prayer for healing. And it's obviously a prayer that's been in our minds and our hearts so much lately. So much for everyone who is suffering from this awful, awful virus. For those who are sick with other illnesses. For our spirits. We asked for Misha Berach. This is, I was thinking back, and the first time we recorded this Zoom Shabbat, it was kind of new and exciting. Second time, it was nice. Now it's great. It's amazing to be with you, but it's also hard. It's also a recognition that things are not normal. Things are not as they should be. But we'll get back to it. We will. But we'll get through it together. And so this Misha Berach is a prayer to give us strength, to give us hope, to give us solace. And of course, we're especially thinking of Rabbi Sarada right now before the Misha Berach. He's in our hearts and our souls. And so together, let us sing the words of the Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Lekor Abracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Lekor Habracha Le'amotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Well, some of you may know that the motto, or it was the motto of the conservative movement, the conservative Jewish movement, was tradition and change. Tradition and change, that we cherish the tradition and we also change with the times. And in truth, that's the same of Reform Judaism as well. We may change more rapidly, we may change more dramatically, but we also honor tradition and change at the same time. And that's a theme throughout Jewish history, tradition and change. And I think it's also a theme for our lives right now. But to step back and see the way it worked in Jewish tradition is, if you look at this week's Torah portion, Tzav, it's in the book of Leviticus, and it's real in-depth detail about the behavior of the priests in the temple in Jerusalem, the way they dressed, the way they washed their feet, the way they ate, the way they slaughtered animals, the the different kinds of animals they slaughtered, the purposes of the different kinds of animals. It's extraordinary detail. And that whole way of life vanished. We don't do any of that anymore. None of the priestly rituals, except for the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing, but none of those rituals survive. The temple doesn't survive. The outer Western wall does, but that whole type of Judaism is no longer with us. And yet the Jewish people survive. That's the extraordinary miracle. Judaism could have died after the destruction of the temple in 70 CE. But what did we do? What did our ancestors do? We adapted, we changed. We reinvented Judaism with the synagogue at the center rather than the temple in Jerusalem. And yet we also preserve tradition. We remembered the temple in our prayers. We kept the priestly blessing, Birkat Kohanim. We envisioned a day where the temple might be rebuilt. Now, we don't hasten that day, but it's a part of our tradition. So we preserve tradition, and yet we survived because we could change, because we adapted. And in my modern Jewish thought class, we've also talked about how in the modern period, we kept tradition and changed at the same time. That's, in a way, the secret sauce of Judaism, is tradition and change. And I think it's also part of the secret sauce of our lives, tradition and change. We have certain traditions that we hold on to, that we cherish. Maybe we like to have dinner Sunday night with our family and friends. Maybe we go a certain place every winter break or summer vacation. Maybe we have certain routines, traditions that we took from our parents and grandparents, different meals, different foods. And yet, as we are now, we change, we adapt, we respond to our circumstances. And that's how we survive. That's how we thrive in a way. Who knows? I think about this all the time as I'm trying to get through and plan, as a leader of a congregation, we're constantly thinking about the future, about how we can make our institutions stronger and our people stronger in the future. And I think about what we are doing now during COVID-19, what will we continue to do in the future? And what will we not do? How will we preserve our traditions that we cherish? And yet, how do we change to respond to a new world? And that's a challenge that each of us will have in our lives. That's a challenge we'll have as a society, tradition and change. Because in a sense, that's the secret sauce of life. There are traditions that get passed down, and that's part of what makes life wonderful and meaningful. Maybe sayings you got from your parents, practices, ideals, values. These are traditions. These are part of who we are. And yet we also change. We adapt them to new circumstances. Tradition and change. That's our pattern. And we're in a time right now of significant change. And in some ways, it makes our traditions all the more valuable. Like Shabbat, like Havdalah, like just talking with our kids and our parents and our family. Those are our traditions. Let's keep them. And at the same time, let's embrace the change that we need to undergo so that we can preserve our traditions into the future. Shabbat Shalom. With that in mind, thinking of traditions, thinking of the people that came before us, we turn now to the words of the Kaddish. We don't have them in front of us, but if you'd like to see the words, you can certainly download them or just nod along, say Amen at the appropriate times if you'd like. We're not going to read any names because, of course, this is public, but you know who those names are. They're in your hearts, they're in your souls, and we think of them now as we say the words of the Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute b'chayachon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael v'agala uv'izman kari v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mivorach Leolam Ulome Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach. V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh. V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha B'richu. La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata. Tushbechata V'nechemata. Damiran Be'alma V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. Who say Shalom Bimromav. Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen. May God, the source of peace, send peace to all of us who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us all say Amen. Cantor, do we have a closing song?
I think we do. In the spirit of gratitude and in the spirit of Passover, we are going to turn to the words of Dayenu. We say if we were just let out of Egypt, it would have been enough. But also we have the blessings of Torah, we have the blessings of Shabbat, and certainly we have the blessings of community. And we're going to send some positive Passover energy to Rabbi Sarada's way as we close our service with Dayenu. Ilu hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Ilu natananu eta Torah natananu eta Torah Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natananu eta Shabbat natananu eta Shabbat Dayenu. Last time Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Be in touch. We're here for you. Email, call, text, and we're sending our love. Wish you a peaceful Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.